Right, we're on map 12 of the old map compilation, which is Street. So named because outside of this building there is meant to be a street, although unfortunately not much of one. This is a bit of a hot start here. Obviously if you don't get to the super shotgun quickly enough, that demon's a little harder to kill, and if you don't get out of the starting area before he gets on you, he's actually really difficult to kill. This map uses a large sort of blocky design for this area, which is not the most aesthetically appeasing, but is at least relatively clean, certainly by the standards of what I've been making so far. The deliberately symmetrical design here is actually to facilitate a multiplayer start. I think the second player starts over here and then third with player one, fourth over here again. And that's entirely because I did used to map with carb in mind. My brothers used to play with me, and the things I made would often be made with that in mind. So carrying on with it. So we've got the chunky doors are back, mislined upper textures, pointless ceiling texture change there that cuts a hole in the lights. But overall it's a reasonable opening room, provides a bit of challenge. And as we're carrying outside, we've now got something a bit different here. Fairly certain outside there'd be a cyber walking around, one of those multiplayer only ones, because I remember really liking that in Doom 2 and Evolution as well. So I think a lot of my maps had that kind of thing back in the day. We used more city textures here. I know that is a lift there, where the squares become larger, but it's not particularly well signposted. Then those doors along there all lead to the same room, but don't all open at once, which is a nice, nice change. That looks like my first seriously played Spider Mastermind. It's in a pit here, kind of nullifies the threat a lot. And with the weapons I've been provided, it should be fine. Although because of the way I've placed the items there, they are at least kind of difficult to get to. So considering this next few minutes doesn't matter how bad you are, you should be able to kill that eventually. Again, we've continued with large blocky open areas here, which I think was in part because Hank Lukart did recommend large areas to facilitate co-op. I think his guideline was 64 units of width in a corridor for each sort of player. Now, I won't have followed that everywhere, but that probably has influenced me a bit. Now, I think, yeah, that radiation sign there is also a teleport out of this pit if you can't navigate the stairs. It just takes you back up here to the back. So with this here, we haven't actually seen the red key yet, which I'd consider a design weakness, although as the map is technically non-linear, it's not so much an issue. Now this is a maze, and mazes were popular, certainly in the 90s, because I think a lot of early map designers probably were also the kind of people who enjoyed making their own D&D campaigns, and that typically involved some kind of maze or dungeon. These walls here are false. Brings you up into some large, oversupplied secret areas along the side of the second larger maze. I have to admit, I didn't have any of these sort of influences I was citing earlier there. My use of mazes is just because I've seen other people doing it, so, and I didn't see it as a huge issue, especially when they're like short and they're not like they're sort of, they don't feature many dead ends. I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to create like a roller coaster tycoon style hedge maze in here, where you sort of spend forever lost, because it's just not much fun to navigate, I don't think. I mean, could be wrong, I know a lot of other people did. That strikes me as slightly weak secret design there, you don't trigger it until you step back through the teleporter, but I suppose the credit's given either way, and if you weren't playing in GZDoom you wouldn't know that. One thing striking me here is that each area is actually quite consistently themed, so this is probably one of the last maps I made before starting on Scourge. Now this sort of 64 unit wide, and presumably 64 grid maze, it's not the best place for demons, to be honest, because obviously they're likely to get stuck in places like that, and you'll have the thing like in E3M1 where you sort of end up following them up the corridor, because they don't turn around until they've hit some sort of wall or other navigation obstacle, like each other. So I think from a design perspective this is, it's quite weak, to be honest. But it's not overly challenging or ridiculously complex. Now here we've got quite a different change in the room here, but it's quite well themed in the sense that you have blood and technology have made use of this sort of multi-texture switch, and the decorations fit as well. So I think this is one of those ones where it's definitely a step in the right direction. Now we've just descended into near pure blood. These switches doing unexpected things. So a crusher there that would catch you out if you didn't know about it. Fortunately I made this map, so even though it was years ago I still remember some of my traps. I think you can, no, you can't quite step around outside of it, but because it's a large room it's easy just to run through. Again, this is consistently themed in a kind of old school sort of TNT kind of way, but the map overall is very inconsistent in that it uses a range of different themes. And I think that would be easily resolved by just sticking to one or two ideas, or maybe having like a discrete hell area and a discrete tech area with less breaks and sort of things there. That's quite a good trap there, especially because it gives twice. You wouldn't expect to be hit twice through the same trap, one after the other. This room feels pretty Doom inspired. I think you can just run, that would be the exit there, so if I'd ran to that, that'd be it. Yeah, this feels like quite a Doom 2 kind of setup here with kind of urban feel buildings, or a walkway above lava with, I'm not sure why that's blue, to be honest. It could stand to be either raised like the other blue one or use an actual teleport texture. I guess that wouldn't line up with the 64 grid that that's on, and maybe that's why I've done it. In which case that does show that I had at last learned to take sort of texture cut-offs and flat cut-offs, which might explain why the grid used here seems to be almost exclusively 64 and 32. Aside from this wall being grey when it probably should be brown, and obviously the teleports, which I've already pointed out the weakness in, this doesn't seem like something to be out of place in the really early sort of mid-90s Doom mapping scene. So overall I'd say over the course of this WOD I've probably progressed to meet like a bare minimum standard. Like if this map had turned up on its own in 1995, people might have accepted it as reasonably standard for the time. Doesn't do anything massively wrong, which I'm quite happy about. I mean, there's obviously visual weaknesses. That door does scroll up into the sky, but yeah, I feel like here this is like as a culmination of what this WOD represents. I've gone from not knowing how to do things like basic structures like doors, crushers, teleporters, etc., learning all of that, following tutorials and learning from other WODs, and to then develop confidence with the editor or the editors, and then producing maps that are reasonably playable. Like quite simplistic and obviously linear. This wouldn't hold up to a replay particularly well. unless you were going to go for like a speed run. But yeah, I think there's a learning curve. It's got a lot to recommend it. Could have done with an exit switch there really, and perhaps a little more height. Yeah, I'm pretty content to leave that there. Whenever I get back to making these videos, I'll be starting on Scourge, which will be a bit of a change of pace from these. So, until next time.